The brain is wired for connection. We all need relationships. Relational bonds and relational connections are what makes us human. Hi, y'all. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica Lang, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. And this channel is all things related to trauma, the brain, mental health in general, and healing. So if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and click that subscribe button now so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And while you're in the mood to subscribe to things, go ahead and go over to Instagram and follow me on Instagram. I am trying to get that to that magical 10K so I can get that swipe up feature. So that'll help me a lot if you did that. Plus, I love hearing from you all and connecting with people. So yeah, please join the community. And I know I said welcome back to my channel, but for all you new subscribers, welcome. Thank you for joining, and I'm glad you're liking my videos and liking this content. And please continue to share your feedback, what you think. I really do read everything, and it's a lot easier if you guys tell me exactly what you want me to talk about rather than me trying to come up with things on my own, because I'm a little bit of a rambler, and as which you can see with all my videos being 17 plus minutes long, which is insane. I'm trying to make them shorter, but I talk a lot doing it now. So anyway, let's just jump into today's topic, right? So today I'm going to talk all about attachment. Attachment is, I knew I was an attachment-based therapist before I even knew what attachment theory was, way back when I was 11 and just learning all about the field of psychology. But the truth is that just like the brain focuses on threats in your environment to optimize survival, it's also looking for connections. We actually have mechanisms in our brain that are designed specifically to enhance our connections with other people. This and this is done through attachments. Now, attachment is that relational connection, right? That bond you have with another. It begins from day one, whether that's, and it starts from day one with your primary attachment figure. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to use caregiver, primary caregiver, because that could be a parent back in early days. We used to think that that was the mother, but really it can be biological mother, biological father, grandparents. Really, it could be anyone. The person who the child spends the most amount of time with, and who provides that consistent, nurturing, loving, safe relationship. Attachment can fall into two categories. It can be either be secure or it can be anxious. Because I don't want this video to be too long, I'm not going to differentiate between the different types of insecure attachment or anxious attachment. You can call it either one. If you want me to, leave a comment below and I will do a specific video that will talk about the different types of anxious attachments that there are. But for now, we're just going to put them all in one category and also talk about secure attachment. So let's talk about what's optimal, and that's secure attachment. In a securely attached relationship, you feel safe, you feel cared for, you feel loved, you feel like you matter. Like, these are all things that you feel. And the relational piece taps into that limbic system that I talked about in a previous video, which you can go check out after you're done watching this one. You could look about you can learn about the limbic system. Conversely, an anxiously attached relationship is one where you don't really feel so safe. You don't really trust your partner or have trust in another human. It's one in which you're constantly having your stress response system being triggered, whether that's due to frequent arguments or kind of the push-pull mechanism that happens when two people, especially if both of them have anxious attachments, get together. So these attachment relationships, what you experience in your relationships with others as an adult, is based off of those early attachments you had when you were a child. And during those first 5 years, I mentioned this before, the brain is developing so fast. It's making so many connections at a high rate of speed, and it has to, right? Optimizes your survival. So that means that things are getting constantly paired together and associations are being made. So what did you experience during those first 5 years sets that foundational blueprint for everything that happens after that, your subsequent relationships. So in a securely attached, caregiver child dynamic, it's one in which child has a need and the caregiver comes and they meet that need. Now, as the when you have a baby comes out blank slate. So you come out knowing what their basic needs are. So when they cry, you think, okay, I'm going to feed. So in a typical relational dynamic, right, with the parent and child, the caregiver doesn't just pop out knowing, oh yeah, baby's hungry. It takes time, right? They get to know this baby and they know like certain cues mean that they want this over here. And so in the beginning, it's like hit and miss. They try one thing, they miss, baby still cries, they try another, oh, okay, I got it. So then they start to learn, most caregivers can differentiate between the baby's cry. They know when it's a hunger cry versus like I'm a cold cry or what have you. And that's based off of the attention and attunement the caregiver paid to that baby and meeting their needs during those first, during those early months. So as the child develops, the caregiver is still constantly being attuned to that child's needs, making sure that their needs are being met. As the child gets older, they can use their words, right? Some of that cortex stuff, they can use words to say, I need this, I need that. And the caregiver comes and he meets that need. It's literally that basic. I have a need, somebody comes and helps me fulfill that need. As you get older, you can then start taking on some of that stuff on your own. Oh, I'm hungry, I'm gonna go make a sandwich, right? But one of the things that also gets paired is with some of those basics are like the emotional needs. So like it feels really nice when somebody makes you a sandwich. Like, oh, I'm hungry. Okay, I'm going to make you a sandwich. You had a hard day at work. Chill out right there. I'll make you a sandwich, right? Like, so not only is like that hunger need being taken care of, but that emotional need to be loved and to be nurtured is also being met. And not all happens during those early years. Those folks who had some inconsistent caregiving, so maybe their biological mother was a substance abuser, and so maybe they left for a couple months for rehab, or they were high, so they're in and out of the child's life. That creates insecurity and non-trust with that biological parent because they were gone. And again, a baby, like, they don't have concept of time. So days can feel very, very long. And again, you're talking about like what associations are being met. So if a mother is gone or has long absences with their child and, grandma's taking care of the baby, but, for most folks, it's very hard not to be attached to a baby. And so maybe grandma's method of coping, because they know eventually they'd have to give baby back, is like they're not going to be as emotionally available, so they're like a little bit more distant. This creates associations for that baby also. So not only is it like bio mom is in and out, and when she's there she's unpredictable and she's a little bit scary, so then baby's like, I don't know, this person goes into the threat category. But then you have the grandmother who's maybe there trying to take care of the baby, who's okay, here's your basics, but like I'm not gonna do any extra rocking or swaddling. Or maybe they're from the old school generation of like, you don't want to spoil the baby, and so they don't hold baby as much or whatever. I mean, there's so many little things that go into it. You make associations about people and connection based off of those type of experiences. So, okay, mom's kind of out, she's in and out, so I can't trust her. Grandma's like, she feeds me, but like when I cry, she just kind of lets me cry because she said she already fed me, so I guess I'm just not gonna cry. Like, you get a learned helplessness that comes with that, and as the person grows, like for severe instances of learned helplessness with neglect, where baby's not getting fed, is not being fed regularly, or they're being hurt in some type of way when they cry out, they learn to stop crying. And when you don't, and again, a baby, their cry is their communication with what they need. When you get older, we use our words. But again, you're talking now about stress response system. So the cry, the being in, like, even though they're not crying out, they're still in distress. They're still feeling stressed out. Their system is still being activated. So now you're triggering the fight, flight, freeze mechanism. Like, what do? Like, you're a baby, you're helpless, you dissociate, right? So then you have these intense feelings as you become older, and you don't know what to do with them. You just dissociate, because that's what you learned based off of those early experiences. So I'm trying not to make this video go long. Okay, so what does that mean for you and your adult relationships, right? If you never really had somebody in your life, like if you never had a caregiver who met your needs consistently and nurtured you and loved you and made you feel like you were special and held you when you cried or told you that it was going to be okay. Instead, they yelled at you for crying, or they told you to man up, or they told you to be tough, or they said that's not a big deal, or they minimized your feelings or your experiences in any type of way, then why would you then trust that another human being is going to treat you any differently when your experience tells you that adults or people are a threat? And yet, your brain is wired, it needs connection. It needs you to be connected to somebody. And because the brain, good or bad, um, treats treats anything different as a sense of a threat, you might get into these toxic relationships as an older adult, because at least from your brain's perspective, I know how to handle this. I know what to do when somebody yells at me, or somebody belittles me, or somebody hates on me, or they hit me. Even though cognitively it's not something you want, the brain at least knows what to do in that experience. It knows that it can fight, flight, or freeze. Right? It doesn't make sense on a cognitive level, but if you think about the visceral reaction, the feelings that you have when you're in these relationships where maybe it's new and exciting and it's really highly passionate. So even though your partner might hit you and abuse you in some type of way, the makeup piece, right? The reunion piece is so powerful. It also overrides that system as well. But again, that's all coming from those early type of experiences, right? Where your brain's like, I know what to do in this toxic environment. I don't know what to do with this person who doesn't yell at me, who doesn't belittle me, who doesn't hurt me in any type of way. That actually is a threat. And it's what's fascinating. I've worked in group homes for, years. I saw this all the time. With my kids, with the kids that I worked with, and it didn't matter their ages, where in order to be placed in a group home as a child, they don't have them so much anymore in California, but they did, 10 plus years ago. And they have different levels, with level 14 being the highest. Because we don't institutionalize people and put them in asylums anymore, you either need to, if you get removed from your parents, you get placed in a foster home or an intensive foster home. So these parents typically have a little bit more training and expertise with children who have trauma and how they can help them. Or these kids were being put in juvenile detention centers or group homes. So basically, they couldn't stay home. They couldn't be in a traditional foster care system. They were placed in a group home because their behaviors were just so severe. And these behaviors would be like running away, might be stealing, might be hurt, hitting, any type of aggression towards adults. And I mean, these are all examples of the fight, flight, freeze mode. As I'm telling you, like running away, that's fight, that's fleeing, right? Fighting, obviously fighting. Stealing actually can be a little dissociative, interestingly enough. But the point being is, I would see this with these kids, these young children, 7 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, they're teenagers, almost, where they had this history of their parents who were also on drugs, or parents incarcerated or whatever. They had inconsistent parenting, and their fight, flight, freeze response was very, very sensitized, right, to threats, and so to threats to their survival, and they couldn't rely on adults. So even though they ate at the same time every day, they'd have a menu. The same adults would come, the staff members would come. We had the same expectations every day for everything that they needed to do. When they were in distress, their stress response system would be activated. And they would lash out at us, and they would hit us and spit at us and kick us and all these kinds of really aggressive things. And I would notice it even with kids who became close with certain staff members. The minute that their stress response system was activated, that person was still a target. They didn't discern their favorite person versus somebody that they didn't know. That person was a threat. And it was all because that's what they learned, right? That's how they learned to kind of deal with their stress. And it's not a cognitive, I'm going to go assault somebody, but they were just triggered into acting. They were being reactive. And that was all learned, right? That was from a history of not having anybody take care of them, love them, nurture them consistently, right? What was consistent for them was being afraid of adults or being harmed by adults. Um, so adults were scary for them. So what can you do as an adult if this is your behavior pattern? If you're noticing that when you're in these relationships, like you become very triggered, your system, like you're noticing that your stress response system is constantly being activated by your partner. Even though your brain knows what to do with it and it's like, oh no, we got this. And it's like fighting, having like a little battle with the cortex piece, which is like, no, 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 like you really don't want to live like this. You need to start to listen to your body. Even though you're wired for connection, even though we're wired for connection, not all connection is good connection. Not all relationships are a healthy dynamic. And if you are in a relationship where the dynamic is not healthy, you're only going to harm yourself further and you're not going to be happy. So start listening to your body, right? Listening to what's being activated, what's being triggered when you're in these toxic relationships. Journal it out if you have to. Take a walk and voice memo. Really reflect and examine what's happening in this dynamic and whether or not it's really harming you and hurting you. Harming you or hurting you in any type of way. Your feelings do matter. You as a person matter. You don't deserve to be harmed in any kind of way. Even if that was your early experience, even if that's the blueprint you had for your attachment earlier in life, you're older, you can take charge and you can change it. Even though it's scary, you can do it. You can change it. So my suggestion, the biggest piece of advice I have for you, if you're really finding that this is a dynamic that you're having and you're struggling with, is to go about doing some journaling, really trying to explore what's going on, figuring out what it is you need, listening to your body, and all else. And if all else fails, honestly, reach out to a therapist. Really, healing happens in the context of a relationship, and that's what therapy is. It's somebody being able, who's not invested in the same way. You don't need to meet their needs. In a relationship, you have two people, right? Most of the time, and not polyamorous relationships. You have two people with two individual styles, two individual needs. And in order to have a healthy, secure attachment, you guys have to be able to support each other in a healthy, loving, caring way consistently. If one partner is feeling like they're doing all the emotional labor or it's an unhealthy dynamic in some type of way, then either do couples counseling together or find a way to kind of break that cycle. But I'm speaking more specifically about like toxic relationships, domestic violence. Reach out to a therapist, please, and work with that therapist on breaking down what's going on for you, and they can help you and they can practice with you the tools to change that dynamic. That's what I have for you today. Comment down below and let me know what you thought about this video. What do you think about attachment? How is your attachment style impacting your relationships with other people, whether that's friends, family, or in romantic relationships? If you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, and I will see you guys tomorrow.